Okay. Shalom, shalom. This is Gidon and Ariel of Root Source, here with my very good friend and partner, Bob Odell. It's been a while since we've appeared on the screen together. Certainly not alone, and it's always a pleasure. So, how are you, Bob?
Oh, I'm doing well and happy to talk to you today.
Yes, even though we're having a few technical difficulties, but that is what I like calling first world problems. So we'll manage. We're talking today about a topic that you raised. Why don't you introduce it to us?
Yeah, every once in a while when something comes through my email feed, I'll forward it over to you and ask a question. And I did so recently. There was an email coming into me about a book um, called Inside Judaism and written by Orthodox Jew. Uh, and the promo for the book said, uh, and I'm looking at it here, for 3,000 years, Jews have been keeping the Torah's commandments, all of them. Ever wonder how? And the question I asked you was, given some of our previous investigations about things like the Jubilee and so forth, in what way do you think he can correctly claim that all commandments have been kept for 3,000 years?
Yes, okay, so let's add a little personalization to what you just said. The email itself was sent out by our friends at Israel 365. Here, let me share the screen. Just one second. Yes, this is the email that we got here. Oh, this is the email that you got. Let me get rid of this thing also. Yeah, so Israel 365, our good friends that also work in educating Christians about the Jewish roots of their faith, similar to what we do, amongst other things. So this is what they wrote over here. You read about these commandments. Now see how they're actually lived for 3,000 years. As you said, Jews have been keeping the Torah's commandments, all of them. Ever wonder how? So, of course, Bob and I wrote the book, which I didn't open up a link to, Israel First. We had a long subtitle of that book, and I think I might have even gotten it wrong in a few different places, but the subtitle was something like, oh, do you remember, Bob, what the subtitle of that book was?
Let me grab it. Uh, Israel first, key to understanding the blood moons, the Shemitah, the promises to Israel, and the coming Jubilee.
Right. So in that first book, Israel First, and then in Israel, Jubilee Now, I think more so in the second book, we came to the conclusion, as much as we could, that the Jewish people never actually kept the Jubilee. But even with the Shemitah, we mentioned those two commandments clearly commanded in the Bible. I will remind our viewers that the Shemitah is the sabbatical year every 7 years. It is a commandment to let the earth or your crops rest. Also, it's a commandment to forgive loans in the seventh year. And then in the 50th year, or the 49th year, you'll have to read the book, is 7 cycles of the sabbatical year, and that is the Jubilee. And 7 times 7 plus 1 equals 50. That's why today the English word Jubilee is 50 years, and that is from the Hebrew word Yovel. But as I said, we recognize that the Jubilee was possibly or probably, you'll remind me what conclusion we came to, never actually observed. And the Shemitah, for sure, according to Jewish tradition, uh, was certainly not observed for some 500 years or
Yep.
so. So you asked, how could it be that we've been keeping the Torah commandments, all of them, if that's what they say over here, right? That's your
Yep.
question. So as soon as I saw that, I thought that this was a little bit of marketing writing, but I think that the main thrust of this sentence is not that we've been keeping every single one of the commandments every time it came around, which is the way that you read this sentence, I believe. Rather, saying the Torah has many more than the famous Ten Commandments. So if you say, well, the Jews have been good at keeping commandments, yeah, I guess they've been keeping those Ten Commandments. No, 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 no. There are a lot more of the Torah commandments, and the Jews have been using a little paraphrasing over here, not paraphrasing, but um, hagzama, as we say in Hebrew, exaggeration. We say all of them. The fact is that King Solomon himself said that Ein Sadiq ba'aretz asher yaseh tov v'lo yechata. There's no righteous person in the entire land that can do good and not sin.
Hmm.
And that is the verse. Would you like me? Let me quickly get the that verse over there. 1 second.
I was thinking of Isaiah when you were mentioned that verse.
That okay? What verse were you thinking of?
Isaiah 55, I guess. There's no one that is righteous, no, not one. Um,
One
and
second.
even our righteous acts are like filthy rags, is one. I could also look it up.
Well, yeah,
But you
chapters.
may be thinking of something else.
Yeah, the filthy rags. We are all as an unclean thing. All our righteousness are as filthy rags. We all do fade as a leaf. All our iniquities, like the wind, have taken us away. That's the verse that you're thinking of.
Okay. Yeah, yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Okay, but I'm thinking more about this verse, as I said, which is Ecclesiastes 7:20.
Ah, Ecclesiastes, of course.
Indeed, there's no one on earth who is righteous, no one who does what is right and never sins. Again, that's a translation. It doesn't say that in the original Hebrew, never sins. It says there doesn't sin. But so this is perfect. It segues right from where we were coming from. When when you are communicating, and sometimes you're not staying in your lane, but you're still going in the same direction. You know what I'm saying? So that's what I think what they're talking about over here. So again, this verse is very clear that King Solomon in Ecclesiastes says that everybody's going to sin. So if everybody's sinning, then what does that mean that we've been keeping all the Torah commandments? The answer is that we've been keeping as many of the commandments as we could, except when we don't, unless we didn't.
Was that like a famous phrase or something?
Oh, but again, so the first my first answer to you is that this sentence again, I'm guessing we didn't bring on the copywriter over there from Israel 365. Uh, that they wanted to say there are many, many more commandments than you might have thought,
Yeah.
and we're keeping all of them. And again, my second thought was this, like I said, is marketing writing. Don't get too hung up on the very word that we kept all the commandments. There's one commandment, a famous commandment, that really barely anybody observes. Well, you know what? Before I get to that, we haven't been keeping hundreds, I would say a third of the Torah commandments, because those are the Torah commandments that deal with the service in the temple.
Yeah.
So if the temple's not around, we're not observing those commandments. The other famous commandments two famous commandments. They are to return the stolen item that you have stolen. Of course, it is a negative commandment, thou shalt not steal, that we all know. But
Right.
if you've already stolen something, the Torah gives an express commandment to return that item. Pretty cool. But if you've never stolen anything, then you can't observe that commandment. Or if you've stolen something but you haven't noticed it, say you borrowed somebody's pencil or something like that, and then you forgot to return it. So it's true that if you don't return the pencil, then you are already um, not you've sinned twice. You've stolen and then you haven't returned the stolen thing. So that it's a guilt trip over here. But so those, and then there's another famous one, and that is the commandment of how to divorce. It's a commandment. Does that mean that I have to divorce? God forbid. You don't have to divorce, but if you divorce, this is the way to do it.
Oh,
So that's a different kind of commandment. So not everybody has been
oh,
doing all
interesting.
those
Yeah.
commandments.
Yeah.
And like we know, famously, we have not been doing the commandment of Jubilee and of Shemitah. And for that, the rabbis have come up with another solution. And that is, if you don't, there's another famous commandment. Just one second. That is the commandment. Tell me if you're familiar with this way that it's written, and that is the commandment of the wayward son. You ever heard of that one? In Hebrew, it's called Ben Sorer Umoreh. Let me find it in English. One second. Okay, actually, yeah. Okay, so that, let me see if I can find this quickly in English. Meanwhile, that came up nice and quick. Yeah, thankfully we have it in English. Usually, quite often we don't. Um, it is the wayward son. Isn't that what I said?
Yes, that's what you said.
It's in Deuteronomy 21, 18 through 21. Let's see if we can find I don't know who Oramus is, but
Oh,
I
okay.
trust that they've got it here. If someone has a stubborn and rebellious son who will not obey his father and mother, who does not heed them when they discipline him,
Yeah.
then his father and his mother shall take hold of him and bring him out to the elders of his town at the gate of the place. They shall say to the elders of his town, this son of ours is stubborn and rebellious. He will not obey us. He's a glutton and a drunkard. Then all the men of the town shall stone him to death. So you shall purge the evil from your midst, and all Israel will hear and be afraid. Does that come to mind now?
Yes. Yes. It sure does.
It's a scary commandment, but it's a commandment nonetheless. And so the sages say such a thing never happened and never would happen, thankfully,
Hmm.
for various reasons, mostly because of the details of this commandment that make it extremely difficult to happen. But of course, also because who would ever dare do such a thing? But they say that why was this commandment given? And the answer is learn it, and thus you shall receive a reward as if you had actually done the commandment.
Uh,
Uh,
uh, yes.
so by
Yes. So if you
studying,
remember, if you remember what the Torah has to say about the situation, then you're effectively learning the lesson without actually having to um, implement.
that's a good way of saying it exactly. And there's another, and I mentioned before the service of the temple. So there's another verse. Let me try to find it. One second. Here we go. Shalma unish. Oops. One second. I got there a little too fast. Okay, so this verse is in Hosea 14:3. The verse there, and where's the verse? I don't think we're getting it over here.
I've got it in English.
So, okay, it's actually verse 2.
Okay.
Take words with you and return to the Lord. Or actually, that's actually another famous fraction of the verse. Saying to him, forgive all of our sins and receive us graciously, that we may offer the fruit of our lips. Okay, I prefer the English Standard Version. Take away all the iniquity, accept what is good, so we will pay with bulls the vows of our lips. In other words, the word bulls, like that animal, and fruit
Yes.
are similar words. So that's why these two, one of them is, I don't know exactly where they got it, but the bottom line is that the sages understood that word, unishalma parim, we will fulfill the requirements of the bulls with our lips.
Uh-huh.
And how is that done? Instead of doing the service of the temple, sacrificing, we use our lips. How do we use our lips? By praying. This,
Yes.
of course, is a very famous issue. Many Christians wonder how can what's going to be with Jews? They can't if they're not. Nobody can offer sacrifices today. There's no temple, so how are you going to get your redemption or the atonement? So the Christians say very easy. Jesus is atoning for all of our sins. So the Jews who don't believe that, they say we pray instead of offering sacrifices. In
This,
that case, you see that there's a sort of switcheroo
yeah.
between
Uh,
the actual uh, commandment and what's actually done.
this topic came up much earlier in our friendship. And I remember many years ago when it first came up, you didn't quote this verse. You quoted another one. I think you quoted in Psalms where David said somewhere, "I will offer you the sacrifice of praise."
Okay, I don't remember it offhand. I'm
And
better in Hebrew when it comes to
yeah,
those.
sorry, yeah,
No
and I could
worries.
probably try to find it, but then that made a lot of sense to me. And in fact, even as Christians, we sing that verse. We you know we put that into song and or something.
What is the verse
Uh,
again? How do you sing it?
well, it's just I will offer you the sacrifice of praise. It's you know I can try to Google it in English, but I don't think I think it's very easily findable. But um, but I have a question about that. I have a follow-up question on that. Well, if you want to find it first.
Yeah, go ahead. What's your
Um,
What's your question?
so okay, so um, so I've had a few years to think about that.
Oh,
That quote that we can offer a sacrifice through our lips, and it's great. I'm totally on board with that. Um, but if I were uh, in the position of the Jewish people and knowing the exactness of all of these sacrifices in Leviticus. For as Christians, we often think these sacrifices are for sin, but they're some are, but
yeah.
many are not. Many
Most are
are.
not.
In fact, I just our pastor this past Sunday said from the pulpit most of the sacrifices are sacrifices of honor, sacrifices of respect to the Lord. And it was
Yes.
talking about Leviticus. Um, and I thought that, that's a great point, and it's a true point. So here's my question: given that there is a diversity of there's so many different kinds of sacrifices and ways to honor the Lord in these books, has anyone ever sort of like looked at the meaning of these kinds of sacrifices and tried to convert every single one into something that is more verbal like a sacrifice of praise that has different flavors of honoring the Lord verbally that sort of corresponds to this amazing wealth of what God has given us
Worship.
in the Torah.
That's a great question. Um, I think that the way that the traditional Jews have understood that, once again, Uneshalma parim sfatenu, that verse from Hosea, yes, that we will fulfill the requirements of those bowls through our lips. And I might not be getting the right verse here, but certainly it's the same idea that we get that through study. And every day in our morning prayer, besides all of the psalms that we say and the prayers that we make and the Amidah, the 18 blessings, etc., we also read through the many of the verses of Leviticus and some of the Mishnah and the Talmud discussing those commandments. So by learning, excuse me, by learning about the sacrifices, it is considered. I wouldn't say we consider it, but there's a certain aspect of consideration that those sacrifices are being fulfilled. So on the other hand, what you said about connecting them, nothing comes to mind, but that's not the kind of stuff that I roll with so much. But I wouldn't be surprised if there has been some work connecting the Levitical sacrificial work or service with various prayers
Yeah, yeah,
or
yeah.
mitzvot and stuff like that. Come to mind that all of the mitzvot, there's some people that say this, I hear it and go on, that each commandment is connected to a part of your body. I think I was just discussing this with my brother the other day. So if your pinky hurts, that's connected to a certain commandment that you're lax on. So figure out what the commandment is, fix your service in that commandment, then your finger will feel better.
Oh,
Yeah.
you just reminded me. I think, isn't there this thing where there's some number of bones in your body is connected to the commandments, like the positive ones, or I can't remember if it's positive or negative, or, but
There are 365 negative commandments and 248 positive commandments. And 365, of course, is connected to the 365 days of the year. And according to the tradition, those 248 bones, 248 commandments, are connected to the 248 bones that a
yeah,
person has, or
yeah,
something like that.
yeah, yeah.
Okay, I don't
That's
take
cool.
that stuff. That isn't top priority in my Judaism. It's
Well, you
there.
mentioned the pinky. Okay, so I was thinking of that. Hey,
Our time is short,
yeah,
Bob. So I would just like to go back to that email that we shared. There's something else there that I would like to share about it, and that is, one second. What am I doing here? I'm not stopping the share. I'm hiding this thing, hiding the floating close, and I'm making this smaller. And this is the book. So this book, Inside Judaism, as you mentioned, How Jews Live with the Torah or Live the Torah, very nice, by Rabbi Eliezer Melamed. Rabbi Eliezer Melamed is a very famous, I would say he's a world famous rabbi at this point, and that he has ca- categorized and paraphrased and described and discussed the commandments. And that book in Hebrew is called Pninei Halacha, the pearls of the halakha, and it's been translated not only into English into numerous other languages, and millions upon millions of people all over the world, including especially in Israel, are learning Judaism through there. This specific book, as far as I understand, is a kind of a translation of his book, The Jewish Tradition, which was originally created for less observant Jews. And I believe that Rabbi Eli Michel of Israel 365 decided that he would like to uh, translate this book in a way that will be more a usable, let's call it that, for non-Jews. And so you mentioned, well, we mentioned over here all of them, and then he goes down a little bit, and you see he's really talking about what looks like four things. That would be the Shabbat, the kosher laws, the festivals, the daily prayer and blessings, marriage and family purity, business and agricultural laws. Not four things, seven things. So I don't know if those are just examples. I haven't seen the book, but there are still a lot more things. And but it's true. All of these things we uh, we observe till today.
Nice.
So we promised that we'd finish at 35 minutes. So we're a couple of minutes over. So have you got anything else to add, Bob?
Just one thing to the topic of studying as opposed to sort of praying. There's two. I've been in the evangelical Christian world, for my life, and there are two main things that I've noticed, like the church, everyone sort of understands and has sort of gained over the last 50 years. One is the church is not a building. That's probably so old you haven't even heard about it, but there was a time when it said that. No, it's the people. And then secondly, worship is more than the singing on Sunday morning. And that your life is to be worship before God, everything. And so I'd say I strongly resonate to this idea that the study of the Torah can be worship uh, uh, before Almighty God. So thank you for sharing that.
Yes, and I think that the dynamic of today sociologically that has got more and more traction. That study of the Torah is it's not just something relatively new. This is already mentioned in the Mishnah that there are many commandments, but the study of the Torah is the primary one.
Yeah.
And I'm very glad that I'm able, first of all, that I'm able to study the Torah myself, and I'm able to share it with my Christian friends. That we are reaching a new day.
Well, I appreciate you and your understanding and exposition of this. And it's funny. We can almost pick anything. We could probably walk down the road together, look at the trunk of a tree, and turn it into a teaching session. It's amazing. And so let's try it again, okay?
We definitely could do that, and it's been done, but I won't do it now.
All right. Well, thanks.
Tov, always a pleasure, Bob.
And